Hello and welcome back to Spirit Lounge and a continuing a passage through the Samyutta Nikaya. And we're going to go through again another 3 different Samyuttas today. The Kassapa, the Labhasakkara and the Rahula Samyutta. I'm going to go through those today. We've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to go and complete the entire Samyutta Nikaya today and then move on to the 4th of the 5th Nikaya, which I'll be writing up. So a little bit of gap between the end of this and the start of the next, but if you persevere, it will follow on. We'll do all 5 of them and continue through. Okay, so what we shall do is I'll pop this back on the screen and we'll walk through it. Okay. So, the Tipitaka, as I say, the Sutta Pitaka contains all the Dhamma teachings of the Buddhist, documented in the Buddhist Pali, which is 5 collections called Nikayas. We're going through the 3rd of the 5, which is the Samyutta Nikaya. The Samyutta Nikaya contains all kind of related sermons and discourses of Buddha, similar to all of the others actually. You're going to find a consistent theme, just like the Upanishads were, no different. And the Nagamadi was similar, but the Upanishads is very, very similar to in terms of writing, and also in terms of the repeating messages were the same no matter which contributor was writing, and whichever guru or sage we were reading the passages from. The messages were essentially the same, which you'll find in the Buddhist Pali also. Okay, the Kassapa Samyutta. On being satisfied with enough, that's a challenge for us all, is it not? How much is enough for us? You know, but we all want to live a comfortable life. This is not saying I wouldn't espouse seeking a comfortable life as being something negative. Just remember, pursue it within the vibration of your spiritual journey, and don't sacrifice what you're becoming for what it is you seek in the material aspect of life. Seek enough for your comfort, for yourself and others, but do it within the realms, do it within the vibration of grace, not in the vibration of the broad and the distorted left channels. On the satisfaction of the disciple Kassapa and his effort to ensure desire and craving did not arise in him. Seeing the danger of desire and craving but escaping them. On being satisfied with what life brings you, for example, robes, food, shelter. On lack of diligence, on the necessity of diligence to the attainment of enlightenment and extinguishing of suffering. Well, diligence is really just faith, and repetition and perseverance is also an element of faith, an expression of faith. On seeking alms from families, this particular disciple goes and he lives on the giving of others, as in food, for example. On the way to approach families with a mind that does not cling or grasp or become ensnared by worldly desires. With a mind that wishes blessings upon those who give alms. On pure and impure teaching. On impure teaching motivated by the desire for fame and gain. There are many, many out there. Be very discerning, who will espouse to be the conduit, to be the knowledge, to be the truth, and this includes every rabbi, priest and pope and guru and anyone on mountain pass or a forest wearing robes and a crown. Be very discerning and be careful what you follow and who you give your power to. Remember, there are many stones across the flood. There are many stones across the river. Continue your passage, because the stone at the very end is the largest one. It's enormous, and it's your own stone. The church from within, your teacher is your own soul's transition into the spirit. That is your church, that is your school. It's the biggest one, and it's at the end, and you'll stand on that stone for a long time. Move yourself toward it, is my advice. I'm happy to speak to anyone who wishes to speak one-to-one, or if you want me to have any open sessions, please let me know. I'll arrange those through Zoom or something for everyone to join. On monks who make mistakes and realizing their error, ask for pardon, and because they realize their error and ask for pardon, pardon is granted. On the unruliness of monks, on the need for faith and to pursue merit. On spiritual backsliding, those without faith backslide. Well, that speaks for itself. this is why This is why we mention at the end of every video that it must be transformative spirituality, not virtuous. If it's transformative, it means you've embedded it within your life, and therefore backsliding does not exist. Those without right effort backslide. Those without mindfulness backslide. Those who are foolish backslide. The angry backslide. The resenting backslide. The poorly taught backslide. Okay, on how in the days of unruly monks the senior monks do not live the strenuous life of a simple monk, and do not praise the strenuous life. On the quality of the holy life not being lessened by those who live the holy life, but that the quality of holy life is lessened by those leading the false holy life. Again, we talked about this before, there are many false conduits of grace out there. I will leave it for you to discern what they are. You will know if you truly wish to know. You will see what is false and has been false for thousands and thousands of years, hundreds and thousands of years, because you'd be surprised what is false out there. So be discerning, be very, very, very discerning. On the Buddha, the Kassapa, having both achieved enlightenment, on the four higher states of the four higher states of mind, the sphere of space, consciousness, nothingness, perception, non-perception, neither perception or non-perception, the cessation of perceptions, spiritual powers and wonders, the reading, recollection of previous lives. On three reasons the seeking of alms is permissible: to identify those monks not rooted in the teaching, to provide sustenance to monks, and to identify evil monks. I'm not completely understanding why the three reasons for seeking alms would identify an evil monk, honestly. But it could be that when they're seeking when they're seeking alms, they may do it and present themselves to families with desire-driven intention. And others may seek alms and present themselves to those giving them alms with a false notion of spirituality. That's probably what this is saying. On Kassapa's first meeting with the Buddha, and the knowledge Kassapa acquired and enlightenment, on inappropriate, so this is where I disagree with Buddha, on inappropriate, unanswerable, unsuitable, unthinkable, forbidden questions regarding the afterlife of Buddha, and why the Buddha refused to answer such questions have no bearing on the following, the path that leads to the cessation of suffering. True and untrue. So the Buddha was rejecting in the Buddhist Pali commonly that he didn't want to answer any questions that were not focused around the core principle of releasing oneself from rebirth and suffering, and all the things that have been presented as some of the principles: right view, wrong view, Eight Noble Path, the five fetters and so forth, the high and low fetters. These things that he wanted to focus people on, or the followers on, and monks on, so they would release themselves from the cycle of rebirth. He refused to answer other questions about cosmic existence, about the all, about God itself, actually, about the notion of source, about afterlife, before life, reincarnation, the process of it, all the esoteric answers to understand the realms greater. I think this was something that these days it doesn't follow through. We all need to have a greater understanding. The gnosis is not just the release from rebirth. That gnosis implies that you will come across and start to learn and understand through gnosis revealed unto you. Remember the invisible energetic book from within? You'll start to understand the answers to these unanswerable questions, or these inappropriate, unsuitable, unthinkable questions that Buddha refused to converse with. These are things as part of your gnosis. They're not to be rejected. They're to be understood as they flow in, because they'll be part of your journey. On five reasons leading to the disappearance of true wisdom: rebellious students that do not revere their teachers, the teachings themselves, and the community of learners, the program of training and right concentration. On five factors that lead to preservation: faithful students, reverence to the teacher, the training, and right concentration. Kind of speaks for itself there. Okay, the Labhasakkara Samyutta, the Prathama Vagga, on the dangers of honour and fame and worldly wealth to those interested in putting an end to suffering. On the need to renounce the seeking of honour, fame and worldly things. Includes the parable of the great wind, explaining that the great wind is the desire for honour, fame and worldly things are consumed by such desire, and so one suffers much and finds personal ruin. So this is saying that when you pursue these things, it becomes all-encompassing and engulfing like the great wind. On persons experiencing low rebirth and birth into hell as a consequence of receiving honour and gifts. Take this with a pinch of salt. You don't burn it to hell because you're receiving honour and gifts. It really depends on the pursuit of that, how it's gained and how it's given and how it's received, and your attachment to these things. Remember, hell is your soul's vibration ultimately. Your soul is the vibration of your garment. Your garment will append and attach to vibrationary souls of its ilk. The spirit is always pure, it's with grace at all times. It is your soul which is moving right or left. Okay. On those who would not consciously lie, even for the gain of great wealth. On those seeking honour, fame and worldly wealth, being ready to consciously lie for the gain of great wealth. I spelled great incorrectly there. Okay. Teya Vagga. On the dangers of honour and fame and worldly wealth to those interested in putting an end to suffering. On lust for honour, fame and worldly things being greater than the lust a man has for a woman. On the need to renounce the seeking of honour, fame and worldly things. On there being no danger from honour, fame and worldly wealth to one who is enlightened and unshakable. This is true. Remember, spirituality must be transformative. Within you, part of your life. On there being danger from honour, fame and worldly wealth to even the most diligent monk. On the need to renounce the seeking of honour, fame and worldly things. Again, it's repeating the message but in a slightly different way in each of these passages. On the monk Devadatta, cutting the roots of his spiritual attainments on account of his mind being consumed by desire for honour, fame and worldly wealth. On the need to renounce the seeking of honour, fame and worldly things. On honours destroying those with low character. This is what I was saying. Though with low vibrational, low spiritual frequency, worldly things, honour and fame and fortune and so forth could and may destroy that who doesn't have spiritual strength. This being what's defined as low character. On the dangers of honour and fame and worldly wealth to those interested in putting an end to suffering. On the mind of a certain venerable person and his willingness to tell a lie to save the life of his own mother, but being ready to lie for the sake of honour, fame and worldly wealth. Look at the Rahula Samyutta. On the impermanence of sensations experienced by eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind. This is talking about the ego, the impermanence of these things. There's the five senses and the mind being the consciousness, the six senses as it's described in the Buddhist Pali. On the unpleasantness of impermanence, on the impermanence and unpleasantness of the self. Stop clinging to the impermanent. On the impermanence and unpleasantness of forms, sounds, smells, tastes, touches and thoughts, which are ideas, which is the mind. On consciousness. On the impermanence and unpleasantness of smell, contact, taste, touch, thought, contact. On sensations, which are feelings. On the impermanence and unpleasantness of all feelings resulting from ear contact, nose contact, tongue contact, eye contact, thought contact. On cravings, impermanence and all unpleasantness of all cravings, form, sounds, form being physical space, physical form, sounds, smell, taste, touches, thoughts. On clinging, impermanence of all clinging to forms, sounds, smell, taste, touches and thoughts. This is effectively the whole passage there is talking to us about detachment from the physicality and our five sense realm of perception and extending beyond it, removing it and not attaching oneself to it and seeing that this is all that there is. On elements, on the impermanence and unpleasantness of the elements, earth, water, fire, air, space, consciousness. On the impermanence of the self, on the impermanence and unpleasantness of the body and objects, i.e. matter, feelings, sensations, karma formations, and consciousness. Okay, the Dutiya Vagga, on the impermanence of the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind, on the impermanence and unpleasantness of the self. This is talking about the attachment again to the idolatry and of this personal ego and the body, the adornment of the body. This is talking about the matter, the object. On the need for the disciple to turn away and stop clinging to what's impermanent. Remember the senses, the body, the mind, the impermanence of matter. On realizing that however the body, which is defined as matter, is defined or measured, the past, present, future, internal, external, coarse, fine, low or high, this is not the self. Again, this whole the last Samyutta, the Rahula Samyutta, is really concentrating on defining and encouraging the spiritual sojourner, the traveller on that passage towards the right, to remove oneself from the impermanence of what is not permanent, to identify the senses and the mind and the body, the ego, and this extends way beyond that. Remember, it's our ego, it's our virtuosity, it's our self-righteousness, which we also need to drop. Our humility must be fed, but we must have strength of fortitude of spine within, wrapped around that humility, or humility wrapped around that spine. Okay, thank you for this. This again, it's another quick round on this video. Again, second coming. I've always said it was you. We've had our avatars, we've had our messages, we've had our knowing, we've had our gnosis, we've been given our teachings. We need to understand them and employ them now. There are no saviors coming to save humanity. There never has been, never will be. The Christ, the Christos, the Krishna, the Buddha, what did they do? What did they do? They came to pass messages and tell us. Christ says the only passage through God is through him. What it was, not through the vessel or the mind or the face. It was for the teaching. The Christos is the teaching that Christ left. Krishna left the Krishna consciousness, the Buddhic, and all the other avatars that have come, and past teaching cascaded to them from their own gnosis and traversing towards grace on the right. This is what we are given. It's all around us. We have everything we need for the salvation or redemption that we are seeking. The spirituality must be transformative, as is cascaded through all these passages we're reading. You have to be part of life. It can't be virtuous. It can't just be rituals and ceremony at certain times, because these will be pointless and are non-transformative. It just happens, it becomes just an activity we're doing to satisfy a virtuosity or how we wish to be perceived by peers and those around us. Okay, I want to say thank you again for listening to this. I truly appreciate it. Thank you. And say God bless to you all. Please pass any messages and comments and feedback to me. I truly appreciate it. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Thank you. God bless.